Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Selective Malts. I am really excited today to discuss something with you, and that is about the bottle you can see in front of me. This is one of the most iconic whiskey brands that has ever come out of the fine country of Scotland. Why do I say that? Because this is the Glenmorangie Signet. Now, before I talk about this bottle in particular or this brand in particular, let's get a quick history lesson on the distillery. So first things first, the Glenmorangie Distillery is located in the city of Tain, which is in Rossshire, Scotland. It is near the sea, as you might have observed most distilleries are. This is located in the Dronach Firth. What is special about this distillery is that the Glenmorangie Distillery claims that they source all their water from a nearby spring. And what is that spring called? It's called the Tarlagee Spring, located near the Tarlagee Hills. Now, I apologize if I got the pronunciation wrong. I could not find the correct pronunciation of Tarlagee. If anyone knows how to pronounce it, do let me know so I don't get it wrong the next time I use it. But let's talk a little bit more about the history of this distillery. So, the Glenmorangie Distillery was founded in 1843 by William Matheson. Today, Glenmorangie is owned by one of the largest luxury brands in the world, and that brand is LVMH, or if you have wondered, Louis Vuitton, Moet and Hennessy. Just that name should give you an idea of how many brands fall under that particular conglomerate. What is special about Glenmorangie is this is officially our first Highland whiskey that we are going to be reviewing today. So far all we've done is review the whiskies from the Isle of Islay. Just a coincidence, although I do love those whiskies over the other whiskies, but this one is a little special. Now let's talk about this whiskey in particular. This one is the Signet. It is, as the name suggests, something which is like the signature whiskey that comes out of this distillery. Now, one thing that is important to understand about this particular whiskey is the Signet is basically a blend of multiple whiskies from multiple casks, which is pretty standard anyway, even if though they say single malt, but it is a blend regardless. This one, however, does not tell you anywhere on the bottle how many years it has remained in the barrel. Why does it not mention how old this whiskey is? That's because it is understood it is their signature whiskey and it comes from some of their finest barrels. The consensus is that the average age of some of the barrels is between 35 and 40 years, which also explains the price of this whiskey. And I will talk about pricing towards the end of this video, so stick around for that. What else is special about this whiskey is when I do talk about the in-depth view of this whiskey, you will notice that on the front of the whiskey over here, they are very proud to mention this Signet, and let's talk about this before we go any further. So that symbol or the emblem in the front is from something called the cardboard stone. So the stone is believed to have been carved in the 8th century by the people known as the Picts. And if you're ever wondering why they were called the Picts, that's because the Romans discovered they had no written form of writing, but they were using carvings and intricate symbols very extensively. And that cardboard stone, as you'd see in the photograph over here, was basically the inspiration for this emblem that you see, and it is near the Glenmorangie Distillery, so they have basically done this to show their rich heritage. Let's get straight into the good stuff. Let's get a close-up of this whiskey and take it from there. So, on the front of the box, you can clearly see when it was established. You can also see the very proud Signet, and in the bottom here, it mentions the fact that this is not your everyday whiskey. It is something exceptional. In fact, let me just read out what it says. So it says, it is a rare spirit of espresso intensity aged in our most exceptional casks. Like I had mentioned, these are not your everyday casks. Some people believe these are your 35 to 40-year-old casks in which this whiskey is eventually, matured. let's go and talk about the back, and this is where you will see it gives you a brief history of why this is an exceptional whiskey. It talks about their devotion to wood, it talks about where they come from, and a little bit about the heritage. In fact, let me just quickly go if there's anything else that I've missed out here. Nothing much. And right at the bottom it does mention that this is 46% weight by volume, so a little on the strong side, but not as strong as the Brooklady that we reviewed last time around. Well, let's get to the best part and let's see what this whiskey really looks like on the inside. So I'm going to flip the box around here and open the whiskey, and as you can see on the right hand side here, it has the tasting notes which I will be reading off later, and inside is the beautiful whiskey with the Signet insignia on the front as well. Let's go ahead and remove the whiskey and take a closer look at the bottle. The front of the bottle mentions the Signet brand there. It has the emblem, the beautiful insignia, the Signet insignia, and it mentions that it is 46% weight by volume. At the back of the bottle, nothing much, just a little bit of general information, and that general information it's basically how you can return this bottle for a refund. Why anyone would want to throw this bottle away, I don't know. I'm tempted to keep it just for the show and for the value that this bottle brings to my whiskey collection on the background that you've seen in the past. Let's get down to pouring the bottle. So enter my Glencan glass, and of course we're going to go for the pop. And once I pour out the whiskey, as you can see, it is deep amber in color, similar to what the tasting notes also describe in terms of the color of the whiskey. Let's not waste too much time, gentlemen and ladies. Let's get down straight to the best part, which is tasting this whiskey. Now, as I had mentioned earlier, the entire tasting notes are on the inside of the box, so I don't even need to bother about it. I'm just going to read right off the box what it says about this whiskey, and we can take it from there. So as I mentioned earlier, the color is definitely deep amber, probably a sign of the nature of the whiskey we're about to experience, but yeah, absolutely, that's true. Now let's talk about the nosing. So I'm going to read off here. It says the enticing warmth of coffee, ginger and cinnamon bursts forth, then melts into dark chocolate and tiramisu. Old-fashioned dark toffee emerges alongside crystallized orange peel, cocoa, cream caramel and rich fruit cake. Now that's a lot to take in. Let's just go with the nosing. Oh my god, it's delicious. I mean, just the smell is making me wonder you know, what it would taste like. You can definitely taste the coffee, the chocolate and the tiramisu. So beautiful. It's complex, and yes, the smell is beautiful. Let's talk about the taste next. So moving on to the taste, it says it's got a velvet explosion on the palate, swirls crackling spices with bitter mocha, dark chocolate and the mellow softness of apricot and butterscotch. Then a surge of toasted hazelnuts and almonds paired with praline, vanilla and orange zest. Cheers. Let's see what the tasting is like. Beautiful. I may not have picked up on everything there, but I can safely say that the chocolate and the mocha are very evident in this. Unfortunately, I didn't get much of the apricot, but yes, the butterscotch is also very, very prominent. Wow, this is complex. This is brilliant. Let's talk about the finish. It says an incredible complexity of mocha and spice heralds creamy cappuccino notes and hints of amaretto before a finale of chocolate-coated raisins and bittersweet orange. I can tell you very safely that the chocolate is prominent throughout the nosing, the palate, as well as the finish. Yes, the finish does give you some really creamy undertones of cappuccino as it describes. Overall, this is a beautiful expression. I mean, oh, I can't wait to rate this whiskey. I think it's worth every dollar someone spent on that, and I'll talk about that in the end, how I managed to get a hold of this whiskey as well. So over to the ratings. Right, let's talk about the ratings. First things first, let's talk about the appearance of this whiskey. Now remember, we're taking into fact that this comes like this, packaged in an exquisite box in a beautiful bottle. And yes, and of course the overall look of the whiskey when you pour it out in the glass, I'm going to give it an extremely high rating because I don't see Highland whiskey come with such packaging and with so much attention to detail, especially the proud signet from the cardboard stone right in the front here. I would give this a 9 on 10 on appearance. Superb. I don't think we're going to rate any higher, but hey, I'm ready to be surprised any day. So I'll give this a 9 on 10 on appearance. The next section is the nosing and the aroma. Now we rate it on a scale from 1 to 20. I can safely say that I am willing to give this a 16 out of 20 on the nosing. There is complexity in the nosing. You can clearly smell the cappuccino, the chocolate, and even the toffee in the whiskey. Not your typical alcohol smells, or not your typical whiskey-like smells, and that's exactly what they're trying to go for. So 16 on 20 on the nosing of this whiskey. Now let's talk about what it feels like when you are taking a sip of this whiskey, running it around your mouth, and then gulping it down to see how good it is. On a scale of 1 to 30, I will give this a 26. It is beautiful, it is complex. You can feel the effort that has gone into balancing the naturally alcoholic flavor that comes when you brew a whiskey and balancing it out beautifully with the chocolate, the mocha undertones. 26 on 30. Let's go to the next part. Let's talk about the final piece here, which is the finish, which is once you've gulped it, does it give you a bitter smell? Does it give you a alcoholic-y and a non-polished flavor? Absolutely not. It is, if anything, the reverse. This is a delicate, complex, and beautifully balanced. I must laud the Glenmorangie Distillery on making something so beautifully balanced. I'll give this an 18 on 20 on the finish, which brings me to the final part. What is my overall rating of this whiskey? I would give this whiskey a 17 on 20 on the overall package and the overall experience of drinking this whiskey. Let's talk about the final score. If you add up all the points in the rating, this is an 86. That puts it in the excellent category of our system, and it is excellent. I have nothing to add, to be honest. It is brilliant. Now let's go on to the final piece, which is how much does this whiskey cost, and should you be spending what it costs for this whiskey? This whiskey, believe it or not, retails for almost 308 Canadian dollars plus tax, which makes it a pretty high-end premium whiskey. If there's something above a top shelf, this would be sitting on that shelf. In fact, this is the pride of my centerpiece. You might have noticed it was on my videos in the background in the past, but now today it's in the front. Would you be willing to pay $308 plus tax for this whiskey? I would say absolutely yes, if you could afford it. This is not your everyday daily driver. This is not something you will open up every day. This is either going to be a gift for someone you love, someone you special, or someone you really want to make feel special. And this is going to be for special occasions only. And that brings me to the final part of this. If you're listening to this video, Jazz O'Brien, thank you so much. This was an anniversary present from Jazz O'Brien to my wife and I. My wife is not a whiskey drinker, so basically me. I love you too, buddy. Thank you for this exceptional whiskey and allowing me the opportunity to be able to review it, because I don't think I can afford that 300 something dollars right now. So here's to you, Jazz. Thank you so much. If you like what you saw, please continue to keep liking my videos and subscribe to my videos. I'm hoping one day to be able to make enough money out of this gig to be able to review something like the Macallan 25 one day.